All right. Hello, and welcome to Degrees of Freedom, where I go over 5 slides in 15 minutes about the note industry so you can learn about your own degrees of freedom. Hello, my name is Dr. Jason Engerman, and if this is a topic you'd like to learn more about, hit that subscription bell, hit that notification bell, and like this video. Today we've got a hot one for you. We are going to talk about due diligence in the note industry. It is an incredibly important portion of the note industry. You've got to be able to work out your risk. So today we're going to talk about desktop due diligence, what it is and what it is not. We're going to talk about property. We're going to talk about paper. We're going to talk about the county and the city information that you need to know about, and also your budget. So without delay, let's just jump right into it. All right, this is what you see here. It is about due diligence, but as usual, we are going to talk about this little disclaimer. The information presented on the Engerman Estates channel is for educational purposes only, as it is not a licensed financial institution. I am not a licensed financial institution. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not a financial strategist, a lawyer, or a CPA. Engerman Estates is not liable for any losses resulting from any action taken by a viewer based on the information presented or shared on this channel. Engerman Estates cannot promise earnings or returns based on historical reports or achieved by any party or affiliate in connection with the information presented. Let's jump right in, okay, without delay. Desktop due diligence. We're going to talk about what it is and what it is not. And so these are the things on the more positive side of the house about what it is. Generally, before you obtain a note, you want to be able to screen it. You want to be able to verify it. You want to be able to do what we call triangulation, so that you can do the first thing here, which is reduce the risk of that asset. Think about it this way. If I bought Facebook at $500 a share, right? That is a risky proposition right now, okay? Because we understand that valuation is too high. And so inevitably it would drop down from that 500 mark or whatever that number is that is way too high for its valuation, okay? And what we want to do whenever we invest is always remove risk. This is what entrepreneurs really do. Entrepreneurs are not necessarily risk takers, as most people would believe or like to think they are. They're really good at managing risk. That is their superpower. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, kudos to you, because you are just becoming an expert at reducing risk. The other thing that due diligence does, it optimizes the return on the investment. The return on the investment. Don't miss that. It optimizes it. When we invest, we're really looking for asymmetrical bets. We're looking for asymmetrical risk taking or asymmetrical investments. You can look at it on either side of the coin. But what that means is you put in a little and you get out a lot more. Okay, versus putting in a lot and getting out a little. Better investors are able to invest $1 and get out 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You multiply that. And so what we do with due diligence is we optimize the investment, we enhance, and we become really more efficient as investors. The last thing that due diligence can do for you is it improves your cash flow process so that you can create a sustainable process. That's important. That's huge. That's everything. Okay. At the end of the day, investors really want to improve and enhance cash flow. Anyone that's a real investor or understand money, understand that it's not net worth. It's not cash. It is cash flow that is king. And as we increase our cash flow, we increase our options. We increase our buckets. We increase our opportunities. Okay. And we increase our wealth. And so when we do due diligence on notes, we are increasing our processes to enhance our cash flow game. All right, go check out Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game. It is free and online. I'm plugging him. He should be throwing me some cash here for that. So moving on. When we talk about these due diligence, we're going to talk about these 3 areas of due diligence that I want to speak about because I think they're the most critical. Pride of ownership. Pride of ownership. is what we're looking for in the property. The property is really key because it is the underlying asset. Okay, it is the underlying asset that the note is collateralized from. Okay, so you have a note. The note is collateralized by the asset. Well, the value of the note really depends on what the asset is doing, what it looks and feels like, what its AIV is, what its ARV is, the rent opportunities there, and who the person is. I'm going to rip through those for you. Pride of ownership speaks to the appetite, or rather the environment that asset, that underlying property is located in. Is it a desirable location to live? And having people take care of that area or that street will tell you if it's a desirable area, if it's something that people want to upkeep. So we're looking for pride of ownership. We want to look for AIV. AIV stands for the as is value. If you were to try to sell it today, what would its value be? Okay, that's a huge thing. We want to get accurate on that. The ARV is called the after repair value. What value would it have at its top end if we clean up those 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, if we give it a new roof, if we spit shine that bad boy and clean it, put wood floors in it? What would its market value be in that vicinity, in that location? The rents, what could we get rent for? All right, how much would rent be in that particular area under those conditions? Is it a duplex? Is it a multiplex? What are you dealing with? Is it a single family residence? What is the number that you're going to be able to live with in that space? The last one is the person, and I know the other ones, it's kind of sandwiched in between. If you look at pride of ownership, pride of ownership is the value that people have and can show you on that area. And then the person down at the bottom is their pay history. Really, it really is. It has to do with their pay history. The reason why I say person is because there's a person attached to the property. You can't forget that. And once we divorce that in the note game, we really lose our ability to give it humanity. And that's important because people live in the places. So that's why I have these things here. One of the really great tools that I use is Google Maps. It helps me to navigate really quickly through properties and in between properties and understand what the area kind of looks like from a property and pride of ownership standpoint. Next is the paper due diligence. We want to be able to get probably e-collateral most likely, and this stuff is what the note is. It's a paperwork. It's a paper game, y'all. So these assignments they come in these various forms based on the type of asset you have underlying. But I'll just whip through these quickly for you. AOM means assignment of mortgage. Those are the normal traditional notes that you see. They're assignments of mortgage. And what that is it's the order in which you show ownership. The order in which. So Tommy buys a property. He sells it to Jackie. Jackie then sells it to Bill. Tommy, Jackie, Bill. Tommy, Jackie, Bill should be on that assignment of mortgage in that order, okay, and based on that date. And so the assignments of mortgage links that chain of ownership thoroughly through. The QCD is the quick claim deed, and if you have something like what's called a CFD down below, you'll see that, a contract for deed. You'd see these because the quick claim deed assigns a ownership from one person to a next underneath a contract, generally called a CFD, or contract for deed. That's down at the bottom there. I kind of skipped that one. Lease options are in the middle there, and they would have an assignment of seller's interest, most likely. But this is also another type of assignment, and all the assignments really do is they tell you who owns the note. All right. It also tells you who owns the property. So it can make it clearly establishes the relationship between the lender and the borrower, or the creditor, right, and the owner. That's what the assignment of mortgage does, and it makes that very clear for us. The allonge is that document that verifies the ownership from one to the other. So all of these documents in terms of paper due diligence are important to have. You want to make sure you have all of these documents, and among other types of paper as well. But depending on whether it's a lease option, a CFD, which is a contract for deed, or a traditional qualified mortgage or note, they all have unique types of paper that are attached to them that must be in your possession and must be visible and must be assessed before you actually purchase a property. I'm going to go to the next one. The county and the city diligence. Okay. The county and city diligence is really important. Oh, and I should probably jump back real quick. I'm sorry about this. There's a title piece here that we're missing. You want to see a title check, and you do, one of the things you do for these in terms of finding your recordings is a title check. You want to do a title check. And because I missed it and I went back, I use the U.S. Title Company for that, and they do a really great job. Okay, so county and city due diligence. All right. I gave you another freebie here. City Data is a great site to check out the environment at a much deeper level. So we want to go to that next level of beyond the desktop due diligence, which this is a part of the desktop due diligence. But we want to go deep into understanding what the population is, what the median income is, are there hospitals in the area, are there banks in the area, are there schools in the area, and what the crime situation is. So this goes to another level of diligence in terms of desktop due diligence in our first pass to understand what the environment is really like and the likelihood that this property and this note will have some sustainability to it. Okay, and we want to make sure that there are cities in between that are close to get to, within 25 miles probably. We want to make sure there's a nice healthy population there, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 people and up. 30,000 is a really nice number if you can get that or more. But just because it doesn't have 30,000 doesn't mean that it can't be a thriving area. There are many areas out there that have less. They have less population. But you want to make sure that these hospitals and banks and schools are kind of in good shape and in good health to be able to sustain the rest of the entity. So I always try to give you a golden nugget, and this golden nugget just happens to be at the end of these slides in 5. But at the end of the day, once we do desktop due diligence, and even as we do even further due diligence, which goes deeper into that title piece, that's why I didn't have title in there, because that's another layer of due diligence. That's at the next layer, I think, not the desktop piece, is the budget. It's the budget. At the end of the day, you need to understand if it's worth the squeeze. At the end of the day, a business is defined by the numbers. They're defined by its inputs and outputs. It's defined by its revenue minus its expenses. Okay? That's what it's defined by. Its capacity to generate revenue and its capacity to minimize or rather control the expenses. So I'm going to break this down. I'm going to take a little bit longer than I usually do. We only got 2 minutes, so don't get too happy. This is my my own version of a budget sheet here. I think it's valuable for you to check out if you like, but it's of my own kind of design. Check this out. You want to really reduce your margin of error, and this is the way we do that. All right, we reduce the margin of error. We want to reduce the out-of-pocket costs. Okay, we want to check the projected COC. Right, which is cash on cash return, and we want to check out the exit strategy and kind of what we call war game them out. There are many different types of exit strategies. You'll see a cash flow model, you'll see a flipped note, you'll see selling partials opportunity here, and this is just a draft of kind of something that I threw together. But there are many different options and opportunities with inputs and outputs that you need to be able to control for. And so here's a few of those, right? There's a break-even point that you need to really understand. At which point will you get your money back? All right. So just understanding these and breaking these down in succession and in smart ways with a budget sheet is going to be key for your due diligence to see if it's even worth your time and energy. So check it out. If you want to learn more about the note industry, if you want to learn more about me and what I do, feel free to reach out to me at jason.eestates at eestates.net, and I'd be happy to share more of this information with you. Join us next week at 8:15, same time, same place. I wish you well. One family.